Ah, you are alive. You are alive. So we'll see who will join, who will come and join us tonight. Is anybody there? Not yet. Here. Hey, Linda. That's why you get the prize always. Yes, Linda is here, present, and on time. Absolutely. Let's see
Craig put
who
two
will.
E's in my name. That's okay. I didn't even think mine. It's Jones.
Somebody else has joined us. Good night, everybody. So we'll just wait just a couple minutes. A couple minutes. How was everybody's week? Did everybody have a good week? Well, now, last week I'm talking about because how was everybody's weekend is what I should be asking.
Mm-hmm.
Linda, did you have a good weekend? I see some people coming on. Excellent, excellent. Yes, awesome. Look, I have this air condition going and I'm still about to break out in a sweat. Oh boy. And anybody here who's on and we had that flood and Lisa, anyway, let me stop having this conversation and start. But we went from a flood into the worst heat.
What? Oh wow.
Yes, it's so hot, very hot, very hot. So one more
Man,
minute,
the weather is
8:03, I
going
will start.
crazy.
Huh?
I said the weather is just really going crazy everywhere.
It is. Did you see that tornado thing that was going around?
No.
That yeah, we had a tornado here. A car. I saw a clip. I didn't look at it, but I saw a car in a position that it shouldn't be in. So
Even the weather is saying, look, it's time for a change.
absolutely, that's the times we in, right? But
Mhm.
hello, hello, hello. Hey everybody, good night. It's 8:02. And I always try to start before 8:05. I'm here at 8 o'clock, but I wait for those people who couldn't quite get here at 8. I heard some footsteps coming towards me. I thought they were going to say something. But good night, everybody. Good night, everybody. Welcome to Banter with Bev. I'm your host, Beverly R. Williams, and I'm excited to be here with you all tonight. Every Sunday night at 8 p.m., I'm excited to be here. Tonight, I don't have that same energy. Um, you may not feel the same energy, but I still am excited to be here. I'm a little tired tonight, so forgive me. I'm just excited because I have a special guest tonight. Uh, she is, well, I don't know if I should let her pronounce her name, but this is my bestie from elementary. Um, she is here with us. And special guest, would you like to give your name?
Everybody knows me as Lisa,
Lisa?
Lisa Minnis, Lisa Mwesegwa, whichever one you're comfortable with, that's fine with me. But Lisa is easy breezy.
Excellent. Excellent, excellent. Hey, Sasha. Nice having you. So we are here tonight, joined with yours truly, Beverly, and Pastor Craig will be joining us late, and our special guest, Lisa Minis Muesigwa. I think I say it just as good as you, right, Lise?
Yes, better. you can get kudos for that.
Excellent. So tonight, I will get started. Let me give you a little bit about her. She's intelligent, she's loving, she's beautiful, she's powerful. I like when I describe all my guests, they're like, who's she talking about?
I'm like, where?
Yes. She's intelligent, loving, beautiful. And I said powerful because listen to me. She chooses to walk this life in her own shoes. Am I right, Lisa?
Yes, you're right. You're
In her
right.
own shoes. And her feet, I think about half my size. And
I think that's the
so
smallest thing on me. I
about,
claim that for now.
I'm sorry.
I said that's the smallest thing on me. I claim that for now until the others get sized up right.
Oh, stop it, stop it, stop it. So, yes. Now I have to read a little about what she said. So while I was preparing for tonight, but she didn't say all of this. I said most of it. She prefers talking, and this is true, talking and writing about others rather than herself, right? She would describe herself. Now these I love these words as a nondescript enigma. Hmm? Not quite, not going quite as far as relegating herself to a symbol or a logo. I thought that was interesting. You know how Prince, the former Prince, the past Prince, he had a logo. She said she wouldn't go that far, and I think, what's his name, um, Kanye. I don't know if he has a symbol or whatever, but she said she wouldn't go quite that far. Basically, what she's saying is she walks life in her own shoes, and she don't try to fit in any box, right? And that's what I really really love about her. And everybody who knows her love the same. They just love that she is so authentic. She's an authentic, real person, and she's been my sister friend for decades. One of my few besties from elementary school, and she's someone who, you know, she sees the good in nearly everything and everyone. Yeah, you don't find many people like that. Some people, I think, what would they say, call her Pollyanna or something? I don't know. She says it to me sometimes, but she really sees the good. And for me, she's seen my good, bad, happy, ugly, and sad. And if it wasn't for her, I don't know. Hubby hasn't joined us yet, but I don't know if there would be a hubby because when things was going rough while we were at Oakwood, she would talk to him and keep him in the mix. So that's why I think she could take a lot of credit for that. So Miss Minis Mwesegwa, let me talk about the serious side. She's a business consultant, working in Chicago, resides in Berrien Springs, Michigan. They're very close. So yes, you know how they do it. They commute. Her heart's desire. So even though she's a business consultant and an author, her heart's desire, her passion is writing. And if you see her on Facebook, you'll see some of her beautiful writings. She loves music and other freelance business ventures that she does. She loves exploring and expounding on the subject, and that's why we're here tonight. She loves exploring and expounding on the subject area of leadership, right? In particular, what you'll hear about tonight is servant leadership. And so some of you may know that I was working on a book project a few weeks ago. Well, it was because of Miss Lisa. She got me on board with this book project, and we had chapters that each of the authors had to write on. And if you've watched any of the other Banter with Babs, you'd see, hey, hon.
Hey,
Party. So
uh-huh.
if you watch any of the other Banter with Babs, you'll see where I wrote, I'm hearing some little static. But anyway, I wrote on perseverance and resilience. And thanks to all of you who've gotten the book. I see it on my website, those who have gotten the book and support. Thank you, thank you, thank you. and you can always go there and grab a book. But I wrote on perseverance and resilience. Lisa wrote on leadership and legacy. And so, Lisa, before I go any further, maybe I'll let you talk about more about your personal side. I'll let you talk about the family. I'll let you talk about what kind of led you to write on leadership and legacy. So, welcome, 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 Lisa. And I don't see where Pastor went, but maybe he'll come back on. But go on.
So it's interesting because when we first got the book project, I heard about it. I said this would be good to do because it was basically talking about our yellow elders, people,
Mhm.
especially of the women who have served us and have done, their lives have been a monument and a message to us. And so I thought about my mom, but I also thought about the way she looked at relationships. So basically, my first thought, then the topics came out, was to talk about relationships. But as I went further, I said legacy and leadership. And so I kind of married the two because I think that the relationships that my mom fostered with students, with friends, with neighbors, with customers, with all of the persons that she interacted with was a form of her, exposing her leadership, servant leadership tendencies. So that's when I said her legacy was really leadership, servant leadership through relationships. So I kind of added a little
Excellent.
caveat to that. And so that made me happy because, I first came across the whole leadership genre when I was, I guess in my 40s and thinking about what am I going to do next? I had young children, and we had just moved into the Barron Springs area, and my husband was doing his graduate studies. And I said, what do I want to do? I was taking care of the kids, and that's a noble and daring thing to do. For the moms out there, that's not easy. But I also
No,
wanted to expand my horizon too. And I said, so while he is studying, what would I do? And I didn't want to do any of the traditional programs. I already had a MBA in accounting, and I was like, it's almost like, what is that? That's not me. I heard about my cousin Martin Hanna. He was telling me about this leadership program, this new innovative program, and he said it sounds so much like me. So I said, okay, let me check it out. And it was the only program on campus where you could actually design your own curriculum. And I was
and
like,
did
what?
you
Okay.
now you said this was a leadership program, it was a doctoral program.
The doctoral program, yes.
Okay.
So at that time, I was like, I wanted to open up a school. And I said, well, maybe since all of my education was in accounting and business, I could, like go on the educational leadership side and learn about education and leadership there. So that was very humbling and happy for me. And the first time I heard about servant leadership, it just was like, yes, this is what I'm called to do, and this is what I've been doing. And ever since then, it's just been a part of my life and a part of my worldview and everything, and a vision for the future.
Okay, awesome. I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
No, 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 that's just it.
Because I'm hearing some, I don't know, it's like a little break. So I may be saying I'm sorry a lot tonight because it
Okay,
seems
I
like
hope
I'm
it's not
cutting you
my
off.
side.
But
No.
hit me in. Okay. So excellent. So go on, hon. You go on. And so you're up. You're ready? You ready to jump in, hon? But before, let me say this. Hannah, okay, before you start, let me just say, Lisa, so you gave us a little quick introduction to servant leadership. We're going to get deeper into that. But we didn't talk about, your personal. I thought you were going to tell us about your children and your husband. How have they contributed? Since you already mentioned servant leadership, just talk about your husband and children and how they may have contributed in terms of you going in that area as well. And then, hon, you just jump in right after that.
I think I've learned, if you're a parent, you will know that you learn from your children. Mostly, you learn from them more than they may even learn from you. I don't know. And my mom used to always say, as a teacher, she says, if the student doesn't go past the teacher, then the teacher hasn't taught the student that well, right? So with my
Hey,
kids,
repeat that. I like that. If the
yeah, she would
student
basically
doesn't
say, and I
go,
can't remember the actual phrase, y'all, but she would say, um, as a teacher, if her students don't go beyond what she has taught them, then she hasn't taught them well. She hasn't prepared them well. So
mm,
you want to train your children and anybody that you're mentoring to go beyond what you have taught them, even what you have shown them, because the world is constantly growing and evolving. So I wanted my children to go beyond whatever I had done. I wanted to lay a foundation for them, and and anybody that I serve in any capacity, whether it's working on a job or whatever capacity it is, church service, ministerial, I want that person to soar to their highest heights. And that's basically what servant leadership is all about, serving others and helping them to bring out the best in who they are, you know? And so, of course, my home was my laboratory. That was my first laboratory with my children, going through the many phases of their lives and having
exactly.
them, you know, first I had when Gio, we moved for a brief moment to Bahamas when my grandmother was sick. And then my child, Gio, he went to Bahamas Academy for a short moment, and he felt like a fish out of water because he had an accent, an American accent, and he didn't fit in there. Before that, we were in the southern part of the United States, where you know how it is with the racial stuff going on. So he didn't quite fit in there. I said, Lord, what am I going to do with this child? And he was at grade two and hating school already. So we moved to Barron Springs, Michigan, and that was the perfect fit because if you've ever been to Andrews University, you know that's a multifaceted university with so many different cultures. So he had friends from Korea, he had friends from, you know, the Caribbean, from Africa, from the United States, all over. And even at the public school there, he felt like he was a part of the whole instead of some, you know, disjointed piece. So my son has a lot of my personality. So I was like, wow. So learning how to partner and parent him in a way that he felt he could have his own unique flavor to the world was a blessing for me. And then my daughter Ebony, you know, she reminds me of much of my mom. Like she is my mom's mini me. So being around her, I see the influence of my mom even now. So, you know, just watching them grow and learning from them has been a blessing. And also my husband John, you know, he has his own way of looking at the world. He's a servant leader in his own right. And so when I first joined the leadership program, I remember one of my first assignments, we had to come up with a community project where we would serve. And I said, oh my goodness, I want to form this nonprofit organization and I don't know what to do. And I bursted out crying, and he was like, okay, let's think about this. We can do this. So even though he was not the business person, his background is medical, in the medical field. He said, let's do the research. So we did the research and we formed this nonprofit called Agape Global Outreach. And then we started doing some of the things that he loves to do in terms of wellness and preventative health care. And so that became a mission field for us. So, you know, we partner with each other with our ideas and ideals. And, you know, together I've learned how teamwork can make the dream work. And again, that's a very important essence of servant leadership. So, yeah, my family
Excellent.
is my first laboratory.
Excellent. Pastor Craig, you're here with us. You want to say something now, or would you like for me to?
You keep going. I'm going to kick in a
Okay,
minute. Came on
you'll
a little
jump
late.
in. Okay, I know you got on late. So listen, audience, I want your participation as well. I have, last week when I was here, I talked about Miles Monroe, how he's like a mentor to me because I love his work, his teachings, his I love his books and everything. And so last week I talked about how we were talking about vision and having a dream for your life and purpose. But he did a lot of stuff, and he said a lot of stuff on leadership. There are two thoughts, or there are two quotes that I want, and I want my audience to jump in. Here are the quotes. Most of us are not leaders today because in our hearts we don't believe that is who we are. Audience, If you agree, I want you to just put agree in the chat. I see Lisa. So these are some thoughts I want Lisa and my co-host Pastor C. I want y'all to think about this. Most of us are not leaders. Shamika, agree. Excellent. Yes, agree, Alea. Okay. So most of us are not leaders today because in our hearts we don't believe that is who we are. And so we have two agrees, man. And so that's really something. If anyway, let me go to the next one. Though every human being on the planet has an inclination for leadership, most of us do not have the courage to cultivate it. Agree or disagree? So, most of us have an inclination, a natural born inclination. Let's say, for the most part, right? We're born to be leaders. But Dr. Miles, this great leadership guru, is saying that we don't have the courage to cultivate it. Linda says she agreed also. Now that's that when I read those things, I mean, I'm like, wow, so many of us are just sitting on so much. Lisa, Pastor C, if you have something to say before I go on, or about what I said, and then we're gonna keep talking and get deeper into what you wrote in the book, Lisa. Sasha, agree. We lack courage and or confidence.
It
Wow.
was Pastor Miles Monroe. He gave me the courage to step out into the leadership field, actually.
Okay. And you and I didn't have this conversation.
No, and that's why I'm smiling, because I had sent in my application, but you know how you have to write a statement, to get into the leadership program and all that.
Yes.
And I was kind of passive and timid. I don't like writing about myself. And the program is job embedded. So at that time, I wasn't really working.
Job embedded means that in order to get into the program, you have to
apply it to a job situation, right?
Excellent.
So they had my application on hold, I think, because every time I would go and check it out, the secretary, she would say, Dr. Freed, who was the chair of the program, she's looking at the applicants. So I said, they had me in limbo. I could feel that. My mom would come down to visit me, and I was there, toying with the fact that I'm not a leader. I guess I shouldn't be in this program. And I was just crying out to God. I went to bed. 3:00 that morning, Dr. Miles Monroe was on Benny Hinn's show.
Wow.
And my cousin Osano Neely was the lead singer. He was a little kid singing. And I said, I'm all the way in a basement in Michigan. I'm listening to Benny Hinn and Miles Monroe, 3:00 in the morning. And he said, if God has placed something on your heart that's too big for you to understand, that's when you know it's him. Because if you could comprehend doing it on your own, then it's not about God, it's about you. Right. And when he said that, I got up that night and I wrote literally a 30-page manifesto about what I wanted to do with leadership and how leadership for me is mission embedded, not job embedded.
Wait. That is key. Wait. Oh, go on, finish. I don't want you to break. I don't want to break your thoughts, but it's mission embedded, not job embedded. That's leadership.
That's what I said. So I was really going against the grain of even the school's mandate. And I said, if y'all not gonna have me, that's fine. But I went there and I told my mom, and she was with me, and I said to her, it was 12:00. It was a Thursday night, so it was Friday morning. And the campus closed around 12:00. And this is like 9:00 in the morning. And I got up and I got dressed with my manifesto. And I said, I'm going up there and I'm going to talk to Dr. Freed today.
Be careful how you use that word manifesto now.
My creed.
Because all kind of manifestos causing problems now.
Okay, with my own curriculum, my leadership curriculum.
Thank you.
So
I don't want Facebook flagging us.
No, we don't want that. We do not want
so go on.
So I went up there and I prayed with my mom, and she says she was getting ready to watch The Price is Right. And she said, go ahead, do what you got to do. I walked up there and I saw the secretary and I said, I want to see Dr. Freed. And she was like, she's in a meeting. She's working on some project with some students. I said, I'll wait. So I sat there and I waited. And she's like, okay, Dr. Freed says she'll see you now. So I went into her. I said, Dr. Freed, I had put in my application for the leadership program. And she's like, well, we're still just trying to see because you don't have a job and it's a job embedded thing. And I said, well, I'm mission embedded. And I gave her the manifest. I couldn't even speak. I just let her see it. My credo, my curricula for leadership. She looked through a couple of the pages and she said, sit right here. And she grabbed two of the other professors and she says, we need to get into this program today.
Wow.
And that came about from Dr. Miles Monroe saying,
wow.
you know, what you have in you, don't let it die in you. Don't, you know, go out there and do it. So when you mentioned his name, I was like, he is still
absolutely. And that speaks to the other part, what we're going to talk about tonight, legacy, right? Mm-hmm. That his legacy still lives on. But hubby, I see you trying to jump in, but before you jump in, let me just read 2 comments and then I'll shut up. We have, a veteran educator on, and she is saying it takes courage. She's actually a principal. It takes courage to cultivate potential leaders. Absolutely. And that's just basically what you were saying about Miles Monroe. And then we have Laurel. People set limits on themselves. Wow. And that's what you did. He through his what he had written and what he had spoken caused you to throw those limits and say, hey, this that is inside of me is going to come out. So go on, hon. Let me be quiet.
Yes, I want to say good night to everyone. I want to say greetings to my dear sister Lisa and one and all who are online this evening. I think Miles says something very profound. He looks at leadership and he equates it with vision. And the reason why many people or most people or a large number of people feel that they do not have the leadership potential because they have not been given a vision, right, in regards to their purpose. And when you have a vision in regards to purpose, you become a leader by virtue of your pursuit, right? Your pursuit into your purpose. You will end up bringing people along with you, right? So a lot of people are just moseying through life with no purpose because they don't have no vision, which gives them direction and pursuit, right, into a specific area. I'm not going to be a leader in a given area, say human resources, and run a department and pretty much have a direct impact on individuals who are hired in the hospital. Why? I don't have a passion for it. I don't have a vision to lead in that area. But if God gives me a vision to be a pastor, to lead a congregation, then I will have the tools and the desire to want to lead my congregants.
Awesome. Lisa, I don't know if you or anybody, I got distracted. I was trying to show the comments online, and I think I'm showing some, but Hun is usually helping me with all the technology. So I'm trying to handle it on my own. So if things get messed up tonight, forgive me. So Hun, so forgive me, anybody. I don't know if you want to respond to what you said, but I was totally not listening. But at that point, Lisa, you have anything you want to say before I go on?
Well, one of my favorite definitions of leadership is it is a set of individual and conscious choices we make to uplift and support an inclusive pursuit of a vision. So I think that kind of encapsulated what Pastor Craig was saying there. And, the Bible tells us without vision, the people perish. So a leader is able to help bring people along in that vision and have them work together and inclusively to make the team, be the dream work. The teamwork makes the dream work. And so that's what I see servant leadership to be. It's not commanding someone and putting the fear of God in them per se, but actually bringing them along where they enjoy the journey just as much as you do.
Absolutely. John Maxwell is another very known leadership thought leader. And I think he says something like, leadership is simply influence.
It is.
having influence. It's all about influence, nothing more, nothing less.
Mhm.
And when we can influence those around us to and the thing is, there's so many different types of leadership styles.
Mhm.
uh you have what are some of the styles? Authoritative, you have um
Charismatic, transformational.
transformational, you have laissez-faire, you have so many
Yeah.
different
Mhm.
leadership styles. But servant leadership, like you said, is based on the idea that a leader will prioritize others versus prioritizing themselves.
Correct.
And and I think I only got the last part of what Pastor was saying, but many times servant leadership is not even in religious organizations. Do I have a witness? Servant leadership, sorry, is not even within a lot of our, unfortunately we don't find it, where we prioritize others or where we empathize with others, even in a lot of organizations, whether it's in school teachers, a lot of the teachers, um you do as I say, you don't feel your student, or you don't. So it just really, this servant leadership thing, let me ask you, Lisa, since this is one of your things, of the various types of leadership, so you chose this because of what? You chose to write on servant leadership because of your mom. Is it, I think you said something about your grandmother as well. She had an influence. Wait, somebody is saying the problem with leadership is we get it confused with management.
Yeah.
Ah, good point,
That's a good
Miguel.
point. Hmm.
Excellent point. We get leadership confused with management. But Lisa, you could maybe expound on that, as well as explain, you know, with servant leadership, how I think you had said your grandmother and your mother had a great influence. So let us know how they influenced your love for servant leadership.
Well, my grandmother would always say that she only had a third grade education. And so she kind of marginalized herself in terms of leadership and the qualities therein. And my mom would say the same thing. She's like, well, I went to school and I did a certain type of education, and she chose home economics instead of going down the career path to engineering, which was supposed to be the better leadership or the better career choice.
Mm.
But they both exemplified in their living how you could have that common touch and that humanity and still lead very powerfully. And when like I said, going into the leadership program, hearing about servant leadership, the names that came to my mind instinctively were my grandmother and my mom, and even my
Mm.
dad to a great extent, because he led,
Because he was a great educator as well.
he led very humbly, and he always put people first. And so there was a book by The Other Side of Leadership. I think it's by Eugene Habecker, and one of his quotes was, "The true leader serves people, serves their best interest." And this is the part of it that got to me. And in doing so, will not always be popular, may not always impress. Now, leaders that we know, they're popular, they impress. But he said true leaders, in doing so, in serving people's best interests, may not always be popular, may not always impress, because true leaders are motivated by a loving concern more than a desire for personal glory. And in that, they're willing to pay the price. And I
Hmm.
Mm.
said,
Look,
wow, this turns
you
leadership on its back. For me, leaders, they don't pay the price, other people pay the price. They get the
mm,
glory, but other people pay the price and the cost. But here it is, this person is saying, you don't have to be the forefront, you don't have to be popular, you don't have to try to impress. In fact, you must be willing to pay the price for all of that to serve. And I fell in love with that right away.
that is interesting when you talk, because again, I go back to Dr. Miles. I think when he
Mhm.
said a vision, when you get a vision, it really starts, it births leadership development, because a vision is when you are willing to die for. When you have a vision, it's something you are willing to die for, and that's like you
Exactly.
talk about pay a price, and that's a true leader, right? It's when you're
So many
willing to,
get into
even
leadership
like
so that they
now,
can get paid, not pay the price.
mercy. Yeah, that's what leaders about.
I
Hey,
try to
I'm
find.
gonna get paid. And even when you think about what's
I'm,
happening in Ukraine right now, the leadership willing to go on, Pastor C.
I'm trying to find a place to jump in, right?
I'm
I
sorry.
wanted to I wanted to piggyback on what Lisa had said in regards to servant leadership, right? And the approach or the difference and its relevance in compared to other leadership areas, right? The servant leadership theory, right? It trips the theory rather than from bottom from top to
Flips it.
bottom. It's from bottom to top, right? And in regards to it's how it is carried out. So the Bible kind of like explains that approach, right, in regards to the leader's desire to want to serve rather than serving through leading, right? Or right, we are looking out for the best interests of those who are under you, right? And it's kind of like the Bible, Paul the apostle talks about the indentured servant, right?
Mhm.
Where it is the sole desire is to want to look out for the best interests of those who you love through service, right? The Bible also equates it with a husband and wife in marriage. It's servanthood to each other.
Serving.
It's
Hmm.
looking out for the best interests of each other. And the challenges that we are having in this secular society, right? In this capitalistic society, right? Is that the leader often is on a quest for monetary gain. And therefore, the interest is no longer, right? Those who are working under him, who are actually
Mm,
producing or making the money on his behalf. He's not looking out for their interests. He's trying to actually save a buck here and there. And we see this in some banks. We see how a lot of
yeah.
the banks here in Bahamas, they're trying
Hmm.
to tailor down. They're trying to get rid of the workers and actually depend on more computerized systems. Right? It's a quest for the bottom dollar. Right?
Yes.
And so
Tech.
it is not typical. It is not popular. Servant leadership is not popular, right?
No.
And it's interesting.
I
It's
think
it's
you were talking about, sorry, the
no, go
upside
on.
down, the upside down pyramid. Most business structures, you would see management is on the top, and all of the other managerial roles and staffing and everything, and the consumer is at the bottom, right? But with servant leadership, it turns that pyramid upside down, and it makes the consumers and then the lower staff leaders and they are elevated to the point where, if you call an organization, you may say you're just calling into the customer service person, but if that customer service person is rude, you may have the best service and the best product out there, but they will turn your customers away. Whereas you flip that, and your customer service person, she feels a part of that organization. She gets
Yes.
good bonus sharing just like everybody else. She answers that phone so cheerily. She takes care of your customer from the time they ring that phone in to the time they get that service or that product. You've got yourself a lifelong customer. And so I think a lot of businesses, they miss the mark because they feel like profit first. But if you don't put your people and your processes first, I mean, those are the true assets of your establishment. So servant leadership also talks about the servant leader organization and how they should serve. So it goes way deep when you talk about servant leadership.
Yes. So let me look at some of these comments. Let me mention it. Ken says, excellent statement. I think it was mentioned a few minutes ago. Loving sacrifice to meet needs over recognition. Wendy says you are absolutely correct that servant leadership is not always demonstrated in religious organizations. I had said that a while back, as one would expect. The reality is that she's absolutely right. Humans are selfish beings. And so, this is the thing. My next question is, if we even struggle to have servant leadership in religious organizations, and like Pastor said, and like we all said, servant leadership is not a prevalent thing, it's not popular. Um, can this leadership style be used in all work environments? Is it practical to say that servant? What would you all say? And anybody else who want to chime in, what would you say to the person who say, servant leadership is it's not practical, you can't use that, that's for a certain type of environment? What would you say to that? Can it be
Well,
used in all work environments?
all work environments require people, processes, and systems to govern, right? And a lot of times in the traditional leadership environments, those autocratic environments where people are coming to work and they feel like slaves on the job. They don't feel free. They don't feel autonomous. They don't feel like they can bring anything to the table. They become more like the automated robots, right? Only thing they're sadder and they're less productive. You find in a lot of the servant leader and the servant-led organizations where they have turned that pyramid upside down, they engage their members and they find ways to plug in people with their interests. Okay, so these are the type of organizations that grow and they're more sustainable, and like the products that they produce and even the services that they perform are higher quality. And Robert Greenleaf, he was the founder of the servant leadership and the servant leader organizational philosophy. And he says, the best test of a servant leader in any organization or in any culture, in any environment, he said, if you serve people, do those you serve grow as persons? Do they
I'm
while being
sorry, I'm not hearing. I'm sorry. If you serve, can you
one of
repeat
the
that?
best tests of the servant leader, according to Robert Greenleaf, is when you're serving people, do those served grow as persons? Do they, while being served, become healthier, wiser, freer, more autonomous, and more likely to serve others themselves? So this is a perpetual thing that will cause an organization not to stand the test of time in one moment, but sustainably for a lifetime. Because you're not only teaching by practical ways, you're walking the walk and talking the talk, but you're helping those under you and even above you. However, we take that hierarchical thing. Everybody in the organization is working toward the same vision, the same goal, and
Excellent.
they're serving each other and themselves to the best of their ability with their best interest.
Awesome. So the answer to that question, it is practical and it could be used in any setting. I like what
It,
Angelita says. Oh, go on. Go on.
it's not just practical, it is profitable. Okay. For example,
Profitable.
if a
Awesome.
profitable, if a company is
Yes.
looking out for the best interests of their workers. For example, you know what? We're going to we're going to go in and get a discount for our members, and where they have to pay 50% less on the gym in regards to looking out for the best interests of their health. We're going to do a child care program so that
Mm,
our workers could come work happy. We can have a child care daycare program in the building where they can go down and eat lunch with their children, right? That is looking out for the best interests, right? And so I'm saying the qualities, right? The
Yeah.
characteristics and the qualities of servant leadership is relevant throughout all forms of leadership, right? Why?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the
absolutely.
day, a leader is one who looks out for his workers. They have empathy for others. They have commitment for the growth of others, right? They go above and beyond. Their workers are going to come to work happy, right? Because why? my boss is looking out for my best interest. He actually
Awesome.
cares about me. So the production and the output is going to be on the increase.
Awesome, awesome. So let's read some of these awesome comments that are coming in. Angelita says, my son was 13 to 14 years old and preparing for university, introduced her to the concept and meaning of servant leader. He has lived his life in that way since. Oh, what did they say? A little child shall lead us. Hey, he was being a servant leader right in that moment. She also said, servant leadership is a lifestyle. Jesus led in this way. Absolutely. There's a book that says lead. I think it says lead like Jesus or something like that. And it talks about servant leadership. Um, Shamika says it's a lie. I'm not quite sure. Maybe that was with some comment that I missed. Um, let me somebody is saying let me put some more of these up here because I'm not managing this well, so y'all forgive me. But I'm more situational. I prefer traditional style in the okay. So this is someone who's going against. So we basically said that servant leadership can be applied to any environment, I guess. That's what we were kind of agreeing. Here is Miguel saying, I'm more situational. I prefer traditional or transitional style in the hospital environment. I'm nice on projects, but when considering patients, okay, so let's see if y'all can understand what is being said here. Where did I put the comment? Oh my goodness. Okay, I found it. Forgive me, guys. When considering patient's life, I'm the big bad wolf. I want results and conformity. What do y'all think about that? That's a nice one. So I think what I'm getting from this is that maybe the servant leadership is not the best in terms of life and death. I mean, I don't know. That's what said. I prefer transitional style. Miguel, if you're still on, and if I'm not saying it right, clear it up for me. But I see where you say I'm nice on projects. I guess you're saying you could be servant leadership on projects, but when a patient's life is being considered, I'm the big bad wolf. I want results and conformity. I guess that's when it's that authoritative, autocratic style. Do what I say. So, what do y'all say about that? And I'll read some other comments. What do y'all say about that?
I feel like there's a space for all leadership styles to engage in, and I think servant leadership to me, and how Robert Greenleaf described it in his writings, it was more of a philosophy than just a style of leadership. What leads your leadership style? And servant leadership is one that requires, I think he addressed it as spiritual understanding of the identity, mission, vision, and your environment. So you will know how to gauge your leadership skills in accordance to what is needed for that moment. That's the beauty of servant leadership, because it's about serving. So if I'm a doctor and I have to serve my patient by making a life and death decision right then, I can do that. And I can do that utilizing all the forms of servant leadership where I am looking out for their best interests at that time. So I don't think it's one or the other. I think it's a combination.
We can, yeah, okay. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
I think I am more inclined with what you just said as well. You can't, not just hard and fast on, okay, I'm only going to do this one style and stay here all the time. Go on, Pastor
Yeah.
Steve.
Yeah. There are certain what I call human courtesies. There is a common level of respect that is due to all men, right? No matter what the circumstances are, right? For example, right? Humble generosity, right? There's a certain requirement that do duty in regards to how we treat people, okay? And so what happens sometimes is that people take advantage of your niceness. If you are
Mhm.
one who
They
is
take your they take your meekness for your weakness. I mean, for weakness.
exactly, all right. So we get into these organizations where people are trying to, acquire other people's positions, and it's like a dog eat dog world. Okay, but you got to show us common courtesy to people, common respect. Also, people love to um, show people rather than tell people. The leader,
Mm.
they want to boss you around. They want to tell you what to do. Why not, rather than telling people what to do, be courteous and show them what to do. Okay, so it's ways to overcome attitudes, negativity, right, with love, courtesy, and generosity, right? Love always
Awesome.
conquers all at the end of the day.
Well,
Would you want to say something? Mm-hmm.
the thing about servant leadership, I think people think of it as the meekness side of it, like you're just meek and you're a pushover and you're trying to lead. And I don't see it that way. And I'm glad you expounded on that. Meekness is not weakness. Meekness is strength under control. And a lot of
Say that
people believe
again. Say that one more time.
meekness is not weakness. Meekness is
Strength
strength under
under
control.
control.
And a lot of times, the meek person will be in control of their emotions, where they can think not just about what is best for them, like I said, but what is best for the patient, what is best for the product, what is best for the customer. And they can do that without having a haughty spirit where they get, angry and just blown out of proportion. So
Yes.
there are many beautiful parts to the leadership profile that people say, oh, that's not a true leader. But I see it as one who is able to control their temperament, to look at the situation and make the best decision, not just for themselves, because they're serving persons, not just who they are, And that's
Awesomeness.
one
Yeah.
that's one thing I try to do. If you don't have control of your emotions, I don't think you can be a great leader. And I think servant leadership helps you to have control of your emotions.
And
Awesome.
Martin Luther King is a prime example of that, right? Nonviolent. It was a nonviolent
Mhm.
movement, right? It was a powerful movement, and they still were able to achieve their goal through calm, through generosity, right? Through showing love rather than hate, right? Gandhi is another example. Look how much Mahatma Gandhi was able to achieve, right, in his short lifespan, right, through nonviolence. And then we have Mandela, who pretty much changed the nation while being in prison, right? These people were humble, meek, and mild, right? And look what they were able to do, right, with this type of character, right?
Awesome. I have to read some of these comments. Oh, Lisa, you say what you have to say, and so much comments are coming in. I usually finish at 9, but we got so much participation tonight. I'll go a few minutes longer if y'all don't mind. But Lisa, say what you're gonna say, and
No,
then I'll
while
read some comments.
he was mentoring some great servant leaders,
Yes.
and I
King,
think they
Martin
followed
Luther.
the paradoxical commandments. When I went to Indianapolis to the Servant Leadership Center there, I met a great servant leader. His name was Dr. Keith Kennett. I'm sorry, Dr. Kenneth Keith. And he coined this poem that I kept. And I'll read it to you guys because I think it makes a lot of sense right here. Because servant
Okay.
leaders are not just about serving themselves. They pay the price for leadership, actually, to do it for
Ooh,
everyone else. Okay. And he says, people are illogical, unreasonable, and self centered. Love them
that's
anyway.
whew.
If you do good, people will accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Do good anyway. If you are successful, you will win false friends and true enemies. Succeed anyway. The good you do today will be forgotten tomorrow. Do good
Hoo-hoo.
anyway.
Hoo-hoo.
Honesty and frankness make you vulnerable. Be honest and frank anyway.
Anyway.
The biggest men and women with the biggest ideas can be shut down by the smallest men and women with the smallest minds. Think
Ooh,
big anyway. People favor underdogs, but only follow the top dogs. Fight for a few underdogs anyway.
anyway.
What you
Wow.
spend years building may be destroyed overnight. Build
Build
anyway.
anyway.
People really need to, people really need help, but may attack you if you help them. Help people anyway.
Wow.
Give the world the best you have, and you'll get kicked in the teeth. Give the world the best you have anyway.
Anyway,
If
get your
you're
teeth
doing
kicked
it
out.
about God and you, it doesn't matter. And that's the servant leader. Sorry, I just
Wow,
have
that is crazy. And if look, I tell you, that's an excellent point. I made I wish we could have see, I don't know this platform yet. I would love to throw that up for people to take, but let me read some of these comments that have been flying in. Um, Wendy had said, regarding my question, I would say implement it and see what results. I guess the question where I had said, which type of leadership, she's saying implement them and see what your results are. Is the only way you would get to know what leadership style is most effective. Oh boy, I hope I know I am. Angelita said, and I may have missed some, forgive me, Christ followers are kings, leaders, exactly. Whilst he is king of kings, we are all leaders in our contribution towards the common objects. Business, church, excellent. Wherever we are all leaders. Excellent. Shamika said, meekness. Oh, she was just saying, way to go about that. Meekness is strength under control. Alea says, I guess, exclamation mark, like Tito. Okay, what else came in? Tanya says, true servant leadership put the interest of people at the center of all decisions. Awesomeness. Oh boy, this is coming through. Which leadership style or combination? So, this is a question coming to you guys. Which leadership style or combination of leadership styles do you think is best for teachers in the classroom? Okay, that's an awesome question. And Lisa, both of your parents were they were both
servant
educated
leaders
administrators.
as
One
administrators and
second
in classroom.
before you, so think 2 seconds. Laurel said, wow. I had to say that because I know she said that for that poem. And I'm like, wow, wow, wow. Now you can answer. And then Pastor C, you also, which do y'all think is the best leadership style or combination of leadership styles do you think is best for teachers in the classroom? And this is a budding teacher. So think well before you answer her because she's getting ready for the classroom.
My grandmother used to say, sense and manners is your passport, but education is your ticket,
It's your
right?
ticket. It's your ticket.
That's right. So the thing about it is education should be something that is engaging. I hate to be in a classroom where I see students pinned behind a desk, chained to a desk, and they can't move. Especially for our boys, it's hard for them to do. And so I taught in the Montessori method where we could have we could decorate the classrooms differently. The structure, the environment was more inclusive. So if I'm teaching science and the kid wants to do their math assignments, it's okay as long as you're not disruptive. We have different learning centers and stuff like that. I feel like when we teach like children as if we're producing them from a factory, we're teaching them by age requirements and all this stuff, it really stifles creativity. So I won't go into all of that. But my main thing is when you are a servant leader and you are a teacher, you listen to your classroom, you listen to your students. The first time I took a class, I told my kids in the 4th grade class, we're going to make the rules together. Why did I tell them that? Because if they are part of making the rules, then they're going to want to obey them better, right? Because when I say no talking over the other person, we made that rule together. Oh yeah, we did. We named that rule together. So they're gonna be more responsible and accountable for rules that they had a voice in. And rules without relationship leads to rebellion. Rules with relationship lead to redemption and restoration. And so we have to remember.
Wait. You're going too fast. Sense. I know people need to hear that again. Rules without relationship leads to rebellion. Rules with relationship
lead to redemption and restoration. And
That's
so
biblical.
you want to rule over someone, have a servant's heart, because make it make sense for them. That's all I'm saying. Make it make sense for them. And kids are very intuitive.
I'm sorry, Pastor C, you can, if you want to add, I heard you say that was biblical, but I had to
No, I said
say,
that's
wait, I had to say one of the listeners, one of my listeners, he said, this topic is too fire to just be an hour long. I guess they're about to pulse me with a rock in a minute. Go on, Pastor C.
yeah. Lisa is exactly right. A lot of these gurus, they steal these ideals from the Bible. They just change the words to it, right? Um,
Absolutely.
the Bible, you look at the Ten Commandments, right? And Jesus summarizes the Ten Commandments that is found in Exodus in the New Testament by saying the greatest commandment is love. Is love. Every commandment has a basis of love, which means as we teach our children and we apply certain rules, restrictions, regulations, tough love, right? It has to be our approach to actually carrying out these things must be done in love. It can't be done in hatred. Hatred. It can't be done. You can't be mad. You can't beat your children. You can't correct your children when you're angry. Okay, because the anger is the anger that the children is experiencing, right? So Jesus teaches us how to lead, how to approach, and how to treat people. It's right there in the Bible. And so all these leadership styles and strategies, right, mean nothing to me. I govern myself according to God's word. Why? Because He's the creator and He's the founder of all things, right? And just the way Christ carried out His leadership in just a few years, right, in regards to 12 disciples. Okay, he had all. I mean, he was turning over tables and money, and he was rebuking people. On the other hand, he was loving people, but he led by example. A great leaders lead by example. That's why I like
Good point.
Obama so much, man. That guy was a loving. He's soft spoken. He wasn't a typical politician, right? And that's why everybody loved him, right? And others hated him, right? Because he loved and people loved him.
Awesomeness. So I don't know if any more came in. Let me see. Okay. So
Well, I'm just
we're
saying,
gonna
sorry.
go
I
on.
I know people talk about the autocratic leadership, and a lot of those leadership styles, the leader has to be right there because it's about them and it's about their influence. And if they're not there, then everybody goes haywire. You know those kind of environments when the
Mm.
boss is away, the mice will play. But if you have a true leadership environment, even when the boss is not there, these people are going to govern themselves accordingly because it's not about the extrinsic as much as the intrinsic value they see within that person. They also following that themselves. So if you have a classroom, the classrooms I tried to lead where we use the servant leadership model, if I walk outside of that classroom, I don't have to worry if my kids are going to be throwing stuff at each other and getting out of their seats and doing things, because the model is I'm serving you and I want you to serve this classroom. And it's about this team and this community that we have right here. We want to serve this to the best of our ability. But when you become selfish and it's just about you, some of
Me.
these leaders, when they leave the organization is not sustainable, and the people
Exactly.
leave, and then everything just crumbles. It's that true leadership should be sustainable throughout the ages. So even though my mom is not here, her leadership legacy is still with me, and I'm still trying to live to that example.
And you're segueing, we're coming down to an end, I guess another 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. Um, in the chapter, your chapter was under the great theme of the broad umbrella of leadership and legacy, but the specific name was servant leadership. So in your chapter you wrote relationships. You talk about how your mom placed a strong emphasis, and you even mentioned a little bit about this earlier, on relationships, which played a great part in the legacy she left, saying she understood too well the value, and these are your words, too well the value of the interconnectedness and interdependence that makes servant leadership the foundation of every successful family succession and legacy. So, with that, What made her legacy? Loretta Menace, Monker Menace. What made her legacy such a great legacy? If you could just describe in maybe one sentence, um, the leadership and legacy that your mom left that has impacted you the most. And Pastor, if you're thinking about, well, you can jump in as well. But Lisa, you in one sentence, if you could describe, or one sentence or more, the leadership and legacy that your mom, in terms of relationships, because you spoke about how she had such great relationships with her sisters and she valued all these relationships. So, what legacy did she leave for you
I
in that
think
context?
in that context, a chain is only as strong as the weakest link. And we always want to leave the least of these behind. My mom was a teacher that looked out for the marginalized, even within our family context, even within the school context, the child or the person most marginalized, I guess the Bible will call them the least of these. She looked
Mhm.
out for that person because those are the people, when you could connect them back into the chain is stronger than ever. And that's what I truly believe. When
Listen.
people want to give up
Oh,
on relationships and give up on homes and give up on children, I say, look, who really wants to be marginalized? Who wants to be seen as the bad one or the no good one? Nobody wants that. Everybody
the
wants to be
troublemaker,
valued. Everybody
the
wants to be
troublemaker.
loved. Everybody wants to be appreciated. And if you really want to see true connectedness, interconnectedness, focus on the good in that person and help them to see what they may not even see in themselves. Loving them unconditional. And if you can do that, then I think you get the best of a person. And I think my mom did that a lot with me. I'll give you one quick example. She would say to me, she said, she said, Lisa, having a kid out of wedlock is not a sin. And I was like, what? And she's like, yeah. She said, having sex out of wedlock is a sin, but having a child out of
Mm,
wedlock is not a sin. The child is
mm,
never a sin. And she said, now you go out there and make a mistake, you do something, you could always come back home, we'll work it through. And I said to myself, I said, is she setting me up for a fall? What is this? But what she was trying to show me was, I'm going to love you anyway, no matter what. And that to me was like reverse psychology, because I said, I can't let my mom down because she's expecting so much great from me. And even if I do something that is a mistake, she's still going to love me. Like she's not going to throw me away. And it just made me think of what Jesus did for us. He was willing to go to hell for us than to go
Mhm.
to heaven without us, right? And that's the kind of servant leadership I want to be. Like anybody can throw away someone when they're down and when they're the least of these. But looking at
Mhm.
someone and seeing redemption and restoration in them because someone saw it in you first, that's what
Mhm.
servant leadership is all about.
powerful,
Mhm.
powerful.
Mhm.
Pastor C, I see you're right in. You're in there.
Yeah,
You're like, if
I
I
got
could jump through
I
this.
got I got 2%. I got 2% left on my iPad, so I
Oh
got to say
no,
what
well, get it
I
out,
got two
get it out.
right.
We're
So
wrapping up soon.
I always tell, and if Shamika is still listening, because she is going into the marketplace of teaching, right? Um, I always tell teachers that you are only as effective, you are only as good as your most challenged student. Oftentimes in our institutions, you have these teachers' pets. We have where the teachers often place emphasis on the top students. Why can't you be like them? Okay, we have prize givings and we give awards to the highest achievers, quote
Mm,
unquote highest achievers, but yet we have students who may have certain challenges, right? Who are doing their best, right? So a
yeah.
great teacher, a great leader is able to produce transformational results, right, in the workers, in those who are they're leading. Transformational leadership, transformational achievements can only come through relationship. Okay, you got to have a relationship with the teacher. the worst child who acts up in that classroom. You pull them in on the lunch break. You buy a little pizza for them. You love them. You try to identify and see where their challenges, where the problems, where the roots are. Right. That's transformational leadership. It's showing interest in people, and it will show, it will bear in the fruits. Right. The fruits of your labor are their achievements. That's what great leadership is about, and we are lacking that in our society because most of the time, most of our leaders, it's about greed. It's about those high numbers and outcomes to show how great a leader they are. Great leadership is demonstrated through the people, right? And not through the dollar. And that's my 2% I got left on my device.
Sasha says, absolute truth, Pastor Craig, absolute truth. And Sasha is also a great educator. And listen, when y'all talk about all these educators, but I like how you applied it also to the employees, in the workplace. But I think of my mom, who was an educator 40 some years. She's been deceased now for 40 plus years. But because she practiced, and I don't even know if she even knew about servant leadership 40 years ago, but just that was her style of leadership because she invested her time and energies into especially young men who were the challenging young men in her class. And I talked about how I had a speaking engagement a few months ago, and one of those young men came to me with tears in his eyes, and he was like, it was because of your mom. Well, he said how I reminded him so much of her, my mannerisms, how I spoke, and, what I did. But he basically was saying because of what she did. And I remember at her funeral, these same least of these, like you said, Lisa, and Pastor C, what you said, they were the ones, these men, like young boys, who were, with tears in their eyes. And years later, tears in their eyes saying, your mom did so much to change, to help me turn around. So now, before we go, I hope I have permission to go from the audience. But Lisa, I don't know. I want to put some questions out or some thoughts um, to the audience. What legacy, and it's just, if you want to answer, you can. This is for everybody, to the guests, to the co-hosts, everybody. What legacy are you leaving behind for your friends, your family, your frenemies, because we got them, the world at large? What legacy are you leaving behind? Does legacy matter to you? If so, why? Why not? Um, would someone smile or frown when your name is called after you're gone? Will someone want to share a thought, an idea, pleasantry after you're gone? Will you be helping others after you are gone? Will you be helping others? Just like how we talked about Miles Monroe at the top of this show. He's still helping others.
Yes.
Because, a lot of times when we talk about legacy, we talk about leaving money or property. But what impact, what memory are you leaving? Here at Banter with Bev, we I always, this is the season for or a series hashtag flowing in greatness. How are you flowing in greatness when it comes to uh, the leadership style that because I think we all agree that we all are leaders, right? So how are you flowing in greatness every day with your influence, with your impact, with the legacy? And let me see. John Maxwell, I mentioned him. What makes you? I thought about this as I was preparing. John Maxwell, Miles Monroe, Oprah Winfrey. They're among the top gurus when we talk about leadership. But what makes them an expert on leadership and not you and not me? Is it just their fame, their fortune? These are just some questions I wanted to throw out. And then, Lisa, I don't know, before I give my takeaways, Pastor, y'all can give your final words, and then I'll give some quick takeaways. If there's anything the audience wanted to say or ask, jump in right now because I can't believe, because I like to start on time and end on time, but my audience said no, this is too fire. So go on.
No, I just
Pastor C, go first. Lisa, since you're the special
Oh,
guest, you have the, yes, you go first, and then Lisa is the special guest, so she'll end, and then I'll give the takeaways.
well, first of all, I want to say you've been a great leader tonight. You allowing 15 minutes after the hour. That's a great leader. Great leader, very patient and tolerant. You are a great leader. Hallelujah.
I was a servant
But
leader.
let me just say this, right? You know, people, not everybody's going to have a, we're not going to have a Craig Williams holiday like Martin Luther King. Okay, we may not have a Craig Williams statue like Penland and Great. Some of these leaders who are held in high esteem, right? But yet they were no greater than the least of these. The Bible says the least. The Bible switches everything up on what it means to be great and what's the best of greatness, right? That's why it talks about being a servant leader, right? But I would say this, that for me, it's like, okay, I get a phone call from different people here and there who I have impact in my ministry. Young lady in Exuma who will send me a note and tell me about how my family has never been as great as it is today.
oh,
Oops.
I think he got turned off. Oh,
I think his thing died. Oh
yeah.
well. It's a good thing I let him go first. I think we got the general gist of what he wanted to say. Go on, Lise. You say it, and then I'll just give my takeaways and my goodbyes.
I think
Unless the
yeah.
audience has something else to say.
I think simply put, you could be a great orator. You could have a lot of money and give a lot of things to people, but I think in the basic form of life and leadership, people are going to remember how you make them feel. Okay, whether it's a
Isn't there a
child,
saying, something like that? Like, what is
whether
that
it's
saying?
I don't know the exact quote, but that's what speaks to me the most. How do you make people feel in your presence? And I
Yes.
don't care if it's an animal, if it's a child, if it's someone in authority over you or someone who you're in authority over. How do you make that person feel? And that's what they're going to remember most about you. And that's what I want people to remember. Like, how did I make you feel? And if I made you feel less than, or if I made you feel hurt, come and talk to me about it. I don't want that to be my legacy with people, to making them feel less than. I just don't want
Mm,
that. And so I say love is the more excellent way. And when we lead with love and we have a servant's heart, I think that's a legacy that can go for generations and generations. And I know my mom, she never said, I love you, I love you. She never said it. But I felt her love so strong and so passionately just by how she led and the essence of who she was in my life. And that's a good example that I would want to exemplify in the lives of others.
awesome, awesome, awesome. This has been a powerful hour plus. I have been blessed. I came here feeling very flat, audience, and I had a little word with my special guest. I came here flat, tired, and just like dragging my feet. But let me tell you, all y'all, do you see how, yeah, starting with my very special guest, Lisa M. Mwesegwa. Yes, she gave us some powerful stuff. That poem, I wish, in fact, after I give these tips and I really want you to end with that poem. I'm sorry, I gotta
Okay.
hear that again because
Okay.
that just infused some energy in me. But I'm just thankful to my audience, the best audience out there. Thank you so much, guys, for joining, and for inspiring me and empowering me. I needed it, right? So here we go. 5 tips on becoming a great leader. Just gonna give you 5 tips on becoming a great leader. Just for those who may not know, but I think my audience is smart. But this for the people who gonna be watching later. Okay. Well, they smart too, but somebody who may need it. And then 5 ways to build a powerful legacy. Lead yourself before leading anyone else. That's tip number one, right? Lead yourself before leading anyone else. Lead by example. Let your actions speak louder than your words. Don't say one thing and do another. Inspire others to do what you do by doing it first. That's the first thing, right? The second thing, be empathetic, care for the team, not just robots. I think we covered that tonight. Be a good listener. Many times we do a lot of talking, but somebody said that's why we have one mouth and two ears so we can listen. Ask for feedback. That'll help you become a better leader. You know, a lot of times we think we're doing our thing because we ain't getting no feedback, right? Or we can't handle it. And asking for feedback requires humility. Number four, develop others. It ain't all about us. It ain't all about you, right? Help somebody else grow. Give somebody else some light and help them their light, help them find their light to shine. Show people why they and their jobs matter, right? And why they're important. And then number five, pick yourself up when you fall down. Because as a leader, as somebody with influence, you're gonna fall. We all fall. But like that song say, get back up, pick yourself up. I mean, there's all kinds of tips I could go on, but just five quick ones, five ways to build a powerful legacy. Guess what's one of the best ways? Be joyful. Just a smile,
grateful.
right? Like Lisa said, people will remember how you made them feel. If you're always miserable and goaty and grumpy and shouting down at somebody, they would want to forget you real fast. So be joyful and build that legacy. Um, be intentional. Be intentional about positively impacting others. Every day you wake up, think about someone who you could positively impact. Do something to make a difference in their lives every day. It could be small, that's okay. Big impact may follow. Just make someone's life better. Pastor C was saying we may not all have the statue up there, or we may not all have a holiday, but it's not about that, right? And then number three, be present. Live in the moment. Live in the moment. Somebody telling you how they feel, don't be thinking about how, how they taking your time and your dollar getting wasted or whatever. Be present when they're telling you about what's going on in the family and what's going on. Be present. Do what matters today. Life is fleeting. We all know that. We still in the pandemic, so we know about how fleeting life is. Number four, think. This is a big one. Think service, not success. Think service, not success. Elevate the needs of others over your own. Stop being selfish. Wendy, I think, said it. Human beings, we selfish. That's why we having a hard time finding servant leadership, even in religious organizations. That's the height of selfishness. Okay, last but not least, start with those closest and the ones you spend most time with. Many times we take those closest to us for granted. And so before I go, I want to leave you with three thoughts to ponder by Dr. Miles. I'm not going to say him every week, just last week and this week. Dr. Miles, listen to this. True leadership is an attitude that naturally inspires and motivates others. Basically, that's what Lisa said, how you make people feel. And it comes from an internalized discovery about yourself.
Yes.
True leadership. And then now, hashtag flowing in greatness here at Banter with Bev. That's the season, the series that's going on. So I got to say two more things from him. The secret to greatness is in serving everyone else. Think about that one. And the last thing, every human has a seed of greatness. I think, Lisa, you may have referred to the seed that he talks about, buried in a gift needed by the world. That talks back to that. What's your purpose? What's the vision for your life? Okay. There's a seed of greatness buried in a gift needed by the world. Go and change the world every day, even just the little piece that you're in, by living a life that you would be, of leadership and legacy that you would be proud of in the now? In the now, when you think about, how somebody will think about you after you're gone, live that life every day. So I just want to say thanks. I went a whole half an hour over almost, and when Lisa finished this poem, because she will have the end tonight. But I just want to say thank you guys for joining me on this week Banter with Bev, where we're hashtag flowing in greatness. I'm Beverly R. Williams from Be Will Inspires, and I'm reminding you what I always remind you, that greatness is in you and great things is what we do. Now go be great. Go on, Lise.
Okay, The Paradoxical Commandments by Dr. Kent Keith. People are illogical, unreasonable, and self centered. Love them anyway. If you do good, people will accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Do good anyway. If you are successful, you will win false friends and true enemies. Succeed anyway. The good you do today will be forgotten tomorrow. Do good and anyway. Honesty and frankness make you vulnerable. Be honest and frank anyway. The
Mm,
biggest men and women with the biggest ideas can be shot down by the smallest men and women with the smallest minds. Think big anyway. People favor underdogs but follow only top dogs. Fight for a few underdogs anyway. What you spend years building may be destroyed overnight. Build anyway.
mm.
People really need help, but may attack you if you do help them. Help people anyway. Give the world the best you have, and you'll get kicked in the teeth. Give the world the best you have anyway.
Wow. So I want to say again, thank you, everyone. I'm about to sign off. 9:26. It's just been great. You all have a good night. Go and be great.
Yes,
Thank
go
you,
and be
Lise.
great.
Yes, go be great.
Love you guys.
Love you guys.
Okay.